Hey everyone, welcome to Vegas Showbiz. This is a particularly special video for me because about 30 years ago, my mom took me to see David Copperfield live at the Paramount Theater in Seattle, Washington. It was my first magic show. I'd never been to anything like that before. It was a great show. I remember at the end when he disappeared from stage and reappeared in the middle of the audience on his Harley. Blew me away. I'm still thinking about it. So it gets to come full circle for me now in the sense that I recently got to take my own son, named Enzo, who's 7, to see David Copperfield. He was so excited to go. It was the #1 show that he's been wanting to see, so it was a special experience getting to take him. Before I go any further, I'm sorry I'm not allowed to provide any footage of the show itself. They had a very strict no filming, no camera policy. I did get some footage from before outside the theater and then afterwards and getting our impressions and all that stuff, but if you're looking for actual show footage, I'm sorry I can't provide that to you. That said, we're going to jump into our reviews. Basically what we've got is Enzo gives his breakdown immediately after the show. We were really excited, energy was high, so we went outside, found a good spot, and got his thoughts on the show. And then I'll break it down for you with my thoughts as well. Just for context, this is the 4th magic show that I've seen in Las Vegas in the past 5 months. So I've got a lot to compare it to, and I'm excited to do that. So please help us out if you could by subscribing to our channel. We would really appreciate that. We're doing a lot of content on entertaining things in Las Vegas, and we'd love to have you along for the ride. And let's get on to the reviews. All right, thank you. Okay, hey everybody, we just got done seeing David Copperfield live the impossible. I've got my son Enzo here, he's 7, he just saw the show. What did you think about the show, Enzo?
I thought it was good and stuff, but the jokes are not really for kids. It's not gonna make you laugh.
The jokes are not for kids. Yeah, he was looking at me deadpan going, "That's not funny, Dad. Why are people laughing, Dad?" Yeah, the jokes are kind of more for adults, aren't they? Yeah. What about the magic? What were some of your favorite parts about the magic show?
My 3 favorite magic tricks was when the car appeared.
The car appeared?
Yeah.
Out of nowhere? Yeah, there was a cool old car, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when the UFO was in the air.
The UFO flew right over our heads.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then the dinosaur.
The dinosaur.
That was good.
That was your favorite? Okay.
Well, those are my favorite.
Okay. What else do you want to tell the people watching Vegas Showbiz before we go?
What do you want to tell?
I want to tell them that if they want to have a good time going to a magic show in Vegas, maybe they should go see David Copperfield.
And bring their dad.
And bring their dad? All right. Is that all for now?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, buddy. I love you.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm back and excited to give you my review of David Copperfield's show Live the Impossible at MGM Grand in Las Vegas. You've already heard from Enzo and got his feelings right after the show. It was a great time. I'm going to give you my review now, but before I jump into that, a couple shout outs that I just want to make. First of all, a shout out to the ushers at the David Copperfield Theater. Enzo and I were seated in the back section, and about 15 minutes before showtime, they came over and grabbed everybody that was seated back there, and they said, "Follow us, we're going to move you up closer for the show." Obviously, everybody was excited to get that news. Enzo and I were in the back of the line. We followed everybody up there, and then when they got to us, they said, "How many of you are there?" And I said, "It's just the 2 of us." And the lady just kind of grinned and she says, "Follow me." She took Enzo and I up to the 3rd row. We were off to the side, but I mean, way closer than we ever would have been before, and got to enjoy the show from up close. So huge thank you to them for doing that. I really want to make sure that they know how much that meant to us. So thank you for that. Second shout out is actually just to David Copperfield. I mean, this guy is 65 years old. He's already widely considered to be the greatest magician of all time. And even if you don't agree with that, you can't really disagree with the fact that he is the most financially successful magician of all time. The guy's worth $1 billion and yet continues to perform 2 and sometimes even 3 shows a night. Really impressive. I mean, clearly he's doing it for the love of magic. He doesn't need the money. I know he's also got his new museum of magic, which looks really cool. He's doing it for the love of it, and you just got to respect that at his age. I mean, that's pretty inspiring stuff. So that said, let's get into the review. You heard from Enzo, his biggest critique of the night was the comedy and not really understanding the comedy. Certainly to Copperfield's credit, I can't blame him for tailoring his comedy to an older audience. It's not kid comedy, and I can't blame him for that. But one of my biggest critiques of the show also was the comedy, to be honest. Now, it's a different reason. I understood the jokes. Enzo didn't get the jokes to begin with. I understood the jokes, but in all honesty, the comedy felt kind of dry to me. It just felt a little bit overly rehearsed. Usually my judge of a great comedian is somebody who has those improv chops that can interact with the crowd and just kill it based on something that somebody randomly called out from the audience. And that's really not the kind of comedy that you're going to get from David Copperfield. Again, it just felt like a lot of these lines had been kind of delivered one too many times for me. But I'm not really there for comedy, and to his credit, if you're a Vegas performer, you have to have comedy. Every single show that we have seen incorporates comedy in one way or another. It's just, this one to me, I'm guessing that it's not his forte either. So I don't know. Again, I like the more improv type stuff. But that said, the comedy was kind of our least favorite part about the show. I have to be honest that when we were starting off, and I'm just going to get the critiques out of the way right away so that we can get all the good stuff out there, because there's plenty of that. I was a little bit worried during the first 15 minutes of the show that Enzo wasn't really going to love it. He even made a couple comments like, do you think that's funny, or do you think that's good magic and stuff? And the reason is, let me give you a little bit more context about the show. As I mentioned in the introduction, I've been fortunate enough to see 4 magic shows on the Strip now in the past 5 months. The thing that sets Copperfield's show apart right away from the others is the fact that it's a large production, okay? You've got a large stage, you've got a lot of props on that stage, and a large group of people, a much larger team that's helping assemble everything for each trick, right? I almost hesitate to call them tricks. It's more like scenes of a play almost. So in between all of that setup, you've got Copperfield talking to the audience a lot more. It's not a rapid fire delivery of magic tricks one by one where you're just kind of stunned and like, wow, I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's more of like a setup for each one and then more of a grand illusion. And they're impressive. I'm going to get to some of that stuff. But in between all of that, you've got Copperfield talking to the audience. In some cases, it's the comedy that we've already mentioned. In other cases, he's doing some storytelling. He tells a lot about his own family, particularly about his relationship with his father, which wasn't lost on me because I was there with my own son. It was kind of a father-son thing for us as well. But it moves at a slower pace because of that. And when you're with a young kid whose attention span isn't going to be the same, they're not getting the jokes, I started getting worried. Now, he does open the show with this pretty amazing illusion, and I don't want to give it all away, but because it's such a bigger production and there's so many more things going on, I feel like when we're talking about magic show, it leans a little bit more towards the show and a little bit less towards the magic. It's impressive, but I think for somebody like a kid like Enzo, it was just like, wow, like this is really cool, but you don't even associate it with magic. It's just this really cool thing that suddenly is there on stage. So as the show moved on, I could tell that my concerns were fine. Like there was nothing wrong. I could tell he was enjoying it because the storyline of the show starts to play out. David ends up introducing this little alien character that becomes a focal point of the show. I appreciated the message that this character had about love and positivity, and he ties it in with time travel and an ability to reconnect with his father. Again, don't want to give too much away, but it alleviated my concerns because it rounded out that younger demographic. This little character that was now part of the show was something that Enzo could very much identify with and was talking about later on and wanting to interact with and everything. So it brought that younger audience in. And if you're considering bringing a kid to see David Copperfield, hopefully this helps alleviate some of those concerns. So Enzo mentioned that his favorite trick of the night involved, or one of his favorite ones, involved a car appearing on stage, and that was definitely one of mine as well. There's always this balancing act when we're talking about a magic show where you don't want to give too much of it away, but a cool classic car appears on stage, and it's not just sitting on the floor of the stage, it's actually up on these steel pillars, and it's like, how did that appear there? It's not a hologram because David Copperfield actually gets in it and like revs it up and smoke comes out the back. And either it's a physical object, even if it's not a running car, regardless, it's really cool the way this thing just appears on stage. And that's something that he's been continuing to talk about since the show. So that was definitely a highlight. Couple other highlights. There was the spaceship part for our little friend, the character that I mentioned, and his ability to fly off back to his planet. The spaceship was a really cool part of an illusion that was, it was there. And as I mentioned, when Enzo and I were talking, it was over our heads, and it was just a really cool thing to see. So that was a lot of fun. The dinosaur is certainly a major character that Copperfield refers to quite a bit throughout the show. His toy dinosaur Frank with the gold tooth, and there's an appearance there. Don't want to talk too much about it, but that was certainly a highlight of the show for him as well. One other thing that I want to mention with Copperfield's show, and this really just ties it all in with the other magic shows that I've seen in Vegas. I'm seeing this common trend in Vegas, although I'll get to a unique spin that Copperfield had on it. But in every magic performance that I have seen this year in Las Vegas, there's this audience participation where people are calling out, could be the name of a famous person, could be a number or a set of numbers, anything like that unique that is random. And I do believe it's random. I don't think that these people are planted in the audience. But then there's a reveal later where maybe somebody pulls a card out of an envelope. They're in some way able to make it appear that they were able to read the future, right? And they knew exactly all these random things that would be called out by the audience, and they had transcribed them ahead of time. Maybe they wrote them on a piece of paper and then revealed that, and you knew about the paper. It was in some envelope before the show or at the beginning of the show, and nobody touched it. And then later they open it and it's like, oh, I already predicted the future, and I wrote all these totally random things that would happen in tonight's performance. That stuff is all awesome. I've enjoyed it. There's also some number magic going on where people do incredible things with random numbers that were shouted out from the audience. Copperfield incorporates all of that stuff into his show as well, but the unique spin on it that I definitely appreciated was that he had, at the beginning of the show, everyone pull out their cell phones. There's a black box on the table where you're supposed to keep your phone the whole time. They're very strict about not filming, not taking pictures. There's people that are security people at the end of each row that are monitoring you the whole time. And they tell you at the beginning, if they catch you taking photos, they're gonna make you delete it and they're gonna escort you out of the show. I was certainly not willing to risk that, considering that it was a big deal for my son and I to be there. So he has you take out your phone at the beginning before placing it in the box, and send him an email so that he would have your email address. Not gonna spam you, all that stuff, but here's the address to send it to, here's the subject to place, and then don't check it, just put the phone in the box, and later on after the show tonight, he tells you to check your email. So later on, I check my email, and I can see the timestamp on the email was right there at the beginning of the show, but it contains a photo of him with all of that information that was randomly called out by the crowd written on the piece of paper that he had. Now, obviously there's some way that they're doing this. I didn't cheat by checking my email ahead of time. Maybe that would have revealed something. I really don't know. I don't need to know how they did everything. I just like the illusion, and it's amusing, it's fun. But I liked that modern twist on it, that use of modern technology. It also guaranteed that we all did something with our phone and then placed it in the box, which is where they wanted it the whole time anyway, so kudos to them. But again, just kind of a fun twist on it, making use of modern technology. I recently saw an interview with Copperfield where he was talking about how hard he works with his team to constantly come up with new magic. Magic has been evolving for centuries, and that's what his Museum of Magic is all about. But as technology changes, so does magic, and his ability to reinvent stuff and make it current is really cool. I really appreciated that. So anyway, that's basically my take on the show. I absolutely enjoyed it. If you're looking for a grandiose scale of magic, this is the place to go. If you're looking for more of that kind of corny family comedy, just kind of traditional magic, rapid fire type stuff, there are other performers that would suit that a little bit better. But if you want that bigger production and you want to see somebody that's that's at maybe the more the twilight stage of their career, who knows how much longer he's going to perform for, I highly recommend seeing David Copperfield. I never forgot it as a kid. It's something I still talk about with my mom. I was thrilled to be able to come full circle and take my own son to see it. We might as well go back. I'd love to bring my whole family as well. There's no doubt that my daughters would enjoy it as well. This just happened to be one of those fun nights that my son and I got to do, and I'm really thankful. So it was a good time. If you're enjoying our content, please help us out by subscribing to the channel. We're regularly producing videos on entertaining things to do in Las Vegas. We do show reviews, hotel reviews, concerts, all that stuff. So a lot of new content coming. We've always got more plans, and we'd love to have you along for the ride. So thank you for watching this one, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you for watching this Vegas Showbiz production. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye.